All right, so the results here of the fugitive slave law and the intensification of conflict between the abolitionists and the slaveholders is kind of twofold. So in the South, you might think, well, this is going to cause people to go, more and more people to call for secession. Well, some people are, of course, calling for secession. But what happens is you have a very influential faction within the South, the rich people, who are the big plantation owners, who are making a lot of money in 1851. 1851 is like the biggest cotton crop yet, but it's also kind of like the highest price of cotton. So even though you've got more cotton being produced, the demand is so great that the price is higher than it's ever been. So these guys are making a lot of money, okay? And they know that if they secede from the Union, that's going to disrupt their business, their ability to ship this stuff overseas, or their ability to find markets for their cotton. All that's gonna be damaged or in question if they secede from the Union. Okay? And so they are kind of trying to get everybody to cool down in the South and support unionism, which from the Southern point of view just means don't do anything. Don't secede right now. But all this, of course, is premised on the idea that the federal government will continue to enforce the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850. And so long as Millard Fillmore's in there, it looks like that's what's going to happen, okay? So yes, there are those calling for secession in 1850 in response to the, say, actions in Boston, the resistance that you see abolitionists mounting to the Fugitive Slave Law. But the Unionists, the rich guys, are going to kind of win out in the short term in 1851, so that secession, the movement for secession, doesn't really go anywhere in 1851 in the South. It's going to take another 9 years, right, for secession to happen. All right, now in the North, the reaction, of course, as we've seen, is resistance in a lot of places to the Fugitive Slave Law. Well, the federal government coming down in such an extreme way to enforce the Fugitive Slave Law under Millard Fillmore is going to have the sort of opposite impact of what it wants in the North. You're going to have the growth of sympathy for the escaped slaves, the growth of sympathy for the abolitionists as well in 1850, from 1851 on, okay? And then in 1852, you get this novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin, written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. She's the daughter of an evangelical preacher from the Second Great Awakening. Her sister, I believe, was an activist trying to protect the Indians down in Georgia. Anyway, the family's been involved in a lot of different things. But this, what's her name? Harriet Beecher Stowe. Harriet Beecher Stowe writes this novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin, about this slave family trying to get out of the South. Okay? And one of the central figures, Uncle Tom, is like a Christ-like figure in the sense that he dies for not just his loved ones, but also for his enemies. He dies for all out of love. And he's recognized by such as readers at the time as a Christ figure. So later on, like in the 20th century, you get like a condemnation of this guy, like Uncle Tom is someone who's obsequious to white people. Well, that's absolutely not what Harriet Beecher Stowe meant by the Uncle Tom character. She didn't mean him to be obsequious to white people. She meant him to be a Christ-like figure in the sense that he dies out of love for others. It's the greatest act of heroism that one can do. And what she's doing is she's writing to the conscience of evangelicals in the South and in the North, but particularly in the North. Like saying, wake up, if you take Christianity seriously, you can't sit on the sidelines. You have to get involved. You have to take a stand against this evil of slavery. And Harriet Beecher Stowe is successful in awakening the conscience of many white Northern Christians. So the book sells like 300,000 copies in the U.S., which is about equivalent to like 3 million today. And about the same number is sold in Britain. So it's like, I guess we could say it's like a bestseller, right? But it's an indication of how much the abolition movement is growing and becoming more mainstream in 1852 and 3. and the fact that more and more Northerners are going to be getting on board with abolition, particularly because they're taking their Christian faith seriously. All right.